One of the final remaining questions I have after studying dementia for so long, trying to figure out who my mom was after her brain aneurysm hemorrhaged, and some of the stuff that I noticed in mental health when I was studying. With other people I met who had these disorders and these difficulties and these problems that these professionals, counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, talked about within their medicine and within their health practices. My last remaining difficulty has to do with how many drugs were in mental health, sold, distributed, openly given as rewards and stimulation in front of a medical and health system and workers, completely careless with what they were observing, undoubtedly. Observing. Watching me squirm and now homeless for what I couldn't solve, for what I couldn't figure out until I slept outside on Earth in Seattle. And finally solved what nobody would help me solve, nobody would help me figure out for about the last 12 years. And so obvious and so stupidly easy to solve. I now have the rest of my life remembering the memories I have of the humans who suffered so much and so long. Although I wasn't studying the entire 12 years, occasionally sitting and staring, recovering from cancer, and too tired and broke to afford a textbook, I never gave up. Having only a mother who cared for me so much as a son, she sacrificed her time, to let me speak about what no human allows me to speak about in freedom. And so there's this last remaining difficulty from these last few years of video, and these last 10 or 16 or 12 or who knows how many years I've spent learning and learning and learning. Having to do with these drugs. Dominant humans use to control behavior, to make money, and consume for pleasure and stimulation. These substances, obviously, though not all, change a human. They change a human emotionally, with language, with mathematics. They change them spiritually. They change their soul. In other words, they change them psychologically mostly. They change their body. But with what humans have available, they never had available when humans were inventing these chemicals and substances. Are the neurons a human has in their brain different after consuming a drug, smoking a drug, drinking a drug, injecting a drug? And then, maybe most importantly of all, are these neurons I'm talking about destroyed? Are these substances limiting a human and their capacity for intelligence so much? Humans are now running out of time to have any moral or ethical argument remaining on earth. With so much information available and so few humans with compassion and care, nonviolence and humbleness, these are eventually difficulties humans will need to solve to have a world and a planet so beautiful Children are no longer a birth rate, and families are no longer suffering. Had there not been drugs and probably a big what if in mental health, I'd not sleep in a tent most likely and probably. I'd be in the home I had when I lived in a studio. Thrilled to my bones, I had a home. But the men and women and people who have no gender, the humans who decide drugs and stimulation are better, and more awesome as a reward. I wouldn't be so confused as I am now with this final audio. From what I can grasp and from what I've learned, for a long time humans have been obsessed with intelligence, playing a game with economics, playing a game with war, playing a game with their children, playing a game with their families, and then playing a game in the stadium. Never pausing and never stopping and never noticing their speed of accomplishment, their tireless work to achieve utopia, socialism and communism and infinite economics. Caused a lot more people than I would have ever guessed to be completely confused about world in outer space. In other words, humans built their computers so fast and their civilizations so quick. They forgot they still have to learn what they've achieved, learn what they've accomplished, and learn all of the information they've collected in these libraries, on these computers, and on the internet. Instead, relying on old emotions and social benefits. To not be as scared as I was. When a man told me he was going to shoot me in my head.